why the people around you shape your old age. There comes a time in life when you stop asking, who do I need to keep close, and start asking, who do I need to let go? It's not about being ruthless. It's about being real. Because here's the truth, as we age, our energy becomes sacred. And the people we allow into our space, they either nourish us or drain us. Now that can get tricky when the people draining us are the same ones who once shared our childhood, sat at our dinner table, or carried our last name. But love doesn't mean tolerating toxicity and loyalty. It should never be a life sentence. There's a certain kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with how much you've slept, and everything to do with who you've been around. Emotional leeches are the people who leave you feeling depleted, even if all you did was have a simple conversation with them. They don't just take your time, they take your peace, your energy, and sometimes even your will to engage with the world. These are the people who call not to check in on you, but to unload their problems like a heavy suitcase at your doorstep. They bring their chaos, their drama, and their emotional burdens straight to you, expecting you to carry them without ever asking if you have the strength to do so. They thrive on crisis. If it's not their failing relationship is shit, it's their job. If it's not their job, it's their finances. And somehow, no matter how much you listen, advise, or support their problems, never seem to improve. Why? Because they don't actually want solutions. They want a captive audience. And here's the hard truth. You are not a dumping ground for someone else's unprocessed emotions. You are not a therapist, a sponge, or an emotional punching bag. You are allowed to set boundaries, to limit your exposure to those who constantly bring negativity into your life. Think about it. When was the last time you got off the phone with someone and felt lighter, felt happier, felt seen? If you can't remember, it might be time to take a hard look at the relationships you are maintaining now. Let's address the elephant in the room. What if the emotional leech is a close friend, a sibling, a child, the fear-mongers, those who fill your life with unnecessary anxieties? That's when it gets complicated, doesn't it? Because we've been conditioned to believe that family means forever, that being a good friend means always being there, no matter the cost to our own well-being. But here's what I need you to hear. Love does not mean self-sacrifice. Love does not mean abandoning yourself in the process of saving someone else. If a relationship is costing you your peace, it's too expensive. So how do you handle emotional leeches? You don't have to cut them off entirely, though. In some cases that might be necessary, but you do need to create emotional boundaries. Limit the time you spend engaging in their endless cycle of negativity. Redirect conversations when they start spiraling into the same tired complaints. And most importantly, give yourself permission to say, I can't be your emotional crutch right now. It might feel uncomfortable at first, you might feel guilty, but I promise you this, the more you protect your own energy, the more space you create for relationships that pour into you rather than just take from you. Because at this stage in your life, you should be surrounded by people who bring joy, not drain it. Guilt is a powerful tool, and some people wield it like a weapon, subtly, sometimes not so, subtly twisting your emotions to make you feel responsible for their happiness, their struggles, or even their bad choices. These are the guilt trippers, the people who make you feel like you owe them something simply because of shared history, blood ties, or past favors. You've heard their lines before. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me. If you really cared about me, you do this one thing. I guess I just don't matter to you anymore. I sacrifice so much for you. And this is the thanks I get. It's a script they've mastered, an emotional trap that keeps you in a loop of obligation and self-doubt. And the worst part, they know exactly how to push your buttons. They know your soft spots, your sense of duty, your compassion, your fear of disappointing others, and they use those against you. The invisible chains of guilt. Guilt trip, ERS. Don't just ask for things. They demand them in a way that makes you feel like saying no is an act of betrayal. And that's the trick. They don't want your generosity. They want your surrender. They want to control your choices by making you feel like setting boundaries is a cruel thing to do. And let's be honest, guilt is heavy. It sits in your chest, makes your stomach turn, keeps you awake at night questioning, am I being selfish? But let's talk about that word, selfish, because guilt trippers love to use it against you. They make you believe that prioritizing your own needs is wrong, that making choices for your own happiness is some kind of moral failure. But is it selfish to protect your peace? Is it selfish to say, I can't keep giving when I have nothing left to give? No, that's called self-respect. when guilt comes from family. Now, here's the regretful souls, trapped in the past, unable to embrace the present where it gets complicated. And what happens when the guilt tripper is a parent, sibling, a child were raised to believe that family is everything, that we owe them unconditional loyalty. But let's be clear, unconditional love does not mean unconditional access. Maybe you have a parent who constantly reminds you of how much they sacrificed for you, using that as leverage to control your decisions, or a sibling who plays the victim, making you feel like it's your responsibility to clean up their messes. Maybe it's an adult child who makes you feel like you're failing them if you don't drop everything to meet their needs. But ask yourself this, if someone truly loved you, would they want you to carry the weight of their happiness on your back? Would they want your love to be given out of fear rather than freely and joyfully? True love does not demand, it respects, it does not guilt. It understands how to free yourself from the guilt trap. Breaking free from guilt trippers, it doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop being controlled. It means recognizing that guilt is not love and obligation is not connection. So how do you do it? Recognize the pattern. Notice when someone is using guilt instead of making a genuine request. Do they twist your words? Do they make you feel like you're a bad person for setting boundaries? That's a red flag. Respond with clarity, not emotion. Guilt trippers feed on emotional reactions instead of defending yourself. Simply state your boundary. I hear that you're upset, but I can't help with that right now. I understand you feel that way, but I've made my decision. I love you, but I'm not available for this conversation. Let go of the need for approval. The hardest part about dealing with guilt trippers is accepting that they may not like your boundaries. They may push back. They may try even harder to manipulate you. That's uncomfortable, but it's okay. You are not responsible for how someone reacts to your self-care. Reclaim your own voice. When was the last time you did something simply because you wanted to, without worrying about how it would make someone else feel? When was the last time you made a decision without carrying the weight of someone else's expectations? It's time to get back to that final thought. Guilt is a thief. Guilt steals your time, your energy, and your ability to enjoy your own life. And you only get one life, so don't waste it trying to appease people who will never be satisfied. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to choose peace over obligation, admission. And most of all, you are allowed to live your life without guilt, being the price you pay. Some people make you feel like you can do anything. They inspire you, uplift you, and remind you that you still have dreams worth chasing, no matter your age. And then there are the dream crushers. These are the people who roll their eyes when you share an idea, who dismiss your aspirations with a casual home. Come on, be realistic. They are the energy leeches, people who drain your emotional and mental strength, voices that whisper or sometimes shout, "You're too old for that. It's the point." That's a young person's game. Dream crushers don't always look like villains. Sometimes they come disguised as concerned family members, old friends, or even your own inner circle. They might think they're protecting you from disappointment, but in reality, all they're doing is shrinking your world, clipping your wings before you even have a chance to fly. The myth of too late. One of the biggest lies society tells us is that there's an expiration date on dreams, that once you reach a certain age, you should be content to just exist, not to strive, not to explore, not to learn something new. But let me ask you something. Who made that rule? Who decided that passion, curiosity, and adventure have a time limit? Because the truth is, they don't. Grandma Moses started painting in her late 70s and became one of the most famous American folk artists. Harlan Sanders started KFC in his 60s after failing at multiple careers. Peter Mark Wilder was 73 when he created the Thesaurus. Laura Les Wilder published her first Little House book at 65. The list goes on, and yet, despite all this proof, dream crushers will still try to convince you that you should slow down, settle in, or just be happy with what you have. Why do people crush dreams? Let's get real. People don't crush dreams because they want to protect you. They do it because of their own limitations, their own fears, and their own regrets. Some people have given up on their own dreams, so they don't want to see you chasing yours. It reminds them of what they never dared to do. Others operate from a place of fear. They've been conditioned to believe that taking risks at an older age is dangerous, that stepping outside the norm invites failure. And instead of confronting their own fears, they project them onto you. And then there are those who simply don't like change. They like the version of you that fits into their world. Predictable, safe, and unchallenging. The moment you start growing, it threatens their comfort. So what do? They plant seeds of doubt. They make you second guess yourself. They subtly, or not so subtly, convince you that pursuing your dreams is foolish. But here's what they won't tell you. The only thing more painful than failing is never trying at all. How to handle dream crushers. So how do you deal with people who try to keep you small? Trust yourself more than you trust their doubt. Ask yourself, what if they're wrong? What if you actually can do it? What if you ignored their skepticism and just went for it? People who have never walked your path don't get to tell you where it leads. Surround yourself with expanders, not shrinkers. The people you spend time with influence your mindset more than you realize. If you're always the time traders, those who use your time for their own benefit, around people who tell you what can't be done, it's time to find new people. Seek out those who see potential instead of limits. People who say go for it instead of that's unrealistic. Stop explaining yourself. To people who won't get it. Some people will never understand why you want to start a new business at 65, go back to school at 70, or travel the world when others are settling into routine, and that's okay. You don't need their approval. You don't need to defend your dreams. You just need to live them, prove them wrong, but do it for you. There is no better feeling than accomplishing something people told you was impossible. Not to gloat, not to say, I told you so, but simply because proving yourself right is the most powerful thing you can do every time you take a step toward your dream. Whether it's signing up for that class, starting that project, or learning that skill, you take a step away from their doubt. The regret of not trying one day, you will look back on your life, and when you do, you won't remember the dream. Crushers you won't care about, the people who told you that's not practical. What you will care about is whether you had the courage to try. So if you're still here, if you still have breath in your lungs and fire in your heart, then you are not done yet. Your dreams are not silly. Your goals are not too big. And you are never too old to go after the life you want, because the only thing worse than failing is wishing you had tried. Family is supposed to be a constant in people who stand by you in both sunshine and storm. The ones who show up not just when you're thriving, but when you're struggling. The people who love you for who you are, not just for what you can do for them, but let's be real, not all family works that way. Some family members only appear when it benefits them. These are the fair weather relatives, the ones who disappear when you need support, but suddenly remember your number when they need something. They show up when there's an inheritance to be divided, when they need money, or when it benefits their reputation to be seen as close to you. But when you need them, when you're sick, when you're lonely, when you're going through a difficult time, suddenly they're too busy. The pain of conditional love, one of the hardest lessons to learn in life, especially in old age, is that blood does not always mean loyalty. You may have spent years nurturing relationships, caring for relatives, supporting their dreams, being the one who always showed up. You may have sacrificed time, energy, and even your own needs to be there for them. And yet when the tables turn, you realize that their love had conditions. It was never about mutual respect. It was about what you could provide. And nothing stings more than realizing that the people you once prioritized never truly prioritized you. How fair weather relatives operate. Fair weather relatives come in many the perpetual worriers, living in fear of the future, never at peace forms. But their behavior often follows a pattern, the disappearing act. They're nowhere to be found during tough times. Whether you're dealing with illness, grief, or financial struggles, they make excuses, act oblivious, or simply ghost you. The sudden reappearance when things improve for you, or when they need something, they show up with smiles, acting as if nothing ever happened. They want to be part of the good times, but avoid the bad, the guilt-tripping strategy. If you start to pull away, they try to manipulate you. We're family, we're supposed to stick together. They conveniently forget how absent they were when you needed them most. The transactional mindset, every interaction feels like a trade. They keep score of favors, but expect you to help without question. Their kindness always comes with an agenda. Family or familiarity, understanding the difference. We grow up being told that family is everything, that family sticks together no matter what, but here's the truth. Not everyone who shares your bloodline deserves a seat at your table. Family is not just about DNA. It's about connection. It's about mutual love, respect, and care. If someone only remembers you when it benefits them, if they only value you for what you provide, then they are not family. They are just familiar faces. And it is okay, more than okay, to redefine what family means to you. How to handle fair weather relatives. So, what do you do when you realize certain relatives only show up when it's convenient? See them for who they are, not who you wish they were. Stop making excuses for their behavior. Stop waiting for them to change. Recognize that their actions have shown you where you stand in their lives. Let go of the fantasy of what family should be. Many people spend their entire lives longing for a family that loves them. UNC, but sometimes that dream does not match reality. Accepting this painful truth can actually set you free. Stop overextending yourself. If you are always the one reaching out, always the one making an effort, always the one giving pause, ask yourself, would they do the same for me? If the answer is no, then it's time to step back, set boundaries without guilt. If a relative only calls when they need something, you are allowed to say no. If they make you feel guilty for not doing more, remind yourself you do not owe them unlimited access to your life just because you share DNA. Focus on the people who show up, not just in the good times. Instead of chasing after relationships that are one-sided, invest in the people who genuinely care. Maybe that's a close friend, a neighbor, or even a chosen family you've built over time. Love is about actions, not titles. The freedom of letting go of fair weather relatives is not about holding grudges. It's about protecting your energy. It's about choosing peace over pain. And most importantly, it's about realizing that you deserve to be surrounded by people who truly love and embracing stillness. Finding true joy and presence in old age. Appreciate you not just when it's convenient for them, but always. Fear is a powerful force. It can protect us, but it can also paralyze us. And sometimes the most dangerous fear isn't the one inside our own heads. It's the fear planted in us by the people around us. These people, they're the fearmongers. Fearmongers are the ones who make the world seem darker than it is. They constantly warn you of what could go wrong, what bad things might happen, and why you shouldn't take risks, try new things, or step out of your comfort zone. You want to travel, it's too dangerous these days. You want to start a new hobby at your age, you could hurt yourself. You want to make new friends, be careful. People can't be trusted. You want to live a little more boldly. It's just not practical. Be realistic. They disguise their negativity as concern. They think they're being helpful, but what they're really doing is shrinking your world until all that's left is a routine that feels safe but not alive. Why do fearmongers do this? Fearmongers are not always bad people. In fact, many of them truly believe they're looking out for you, but their behavior comes from a few key places: their own fears and insecurities. Most fearmongers aren't actually afraid for you. They're afraid for themselves. They have spent their whole lives avoiding risks, staying in their comfort zones, and playing it safe. Seeing you break free from that threatens their entire world. We a need for control. Some people use fear to control others. They make the world seem so terrifying that you feel like you need them to keep you safe. They keep you dependent on their warnings, their advice, their approval. A negative mindset, let's be honest. Some people just see the worst in everything. If it's not the news, it's a personal horror story. If it's not something happening today, it's something that could happen tomorrow. They live in a constant state of anxiety, and they try to pull you into it, the belief that age equals fragility. One of the most damaging myths in society is that as we age, we should only seek comfort and security. Fearmongers believe that risk is for the young, that adventure is reckless, and that trying new things is too dangerous after a certain point in life. But guess what? That's a lie. There is no expiration date on living. How fearmongers steal your life without you noticing. Fear doesn't always come in dramatic warning. Sometimes it creeps in through small, seemingly harmless comments. Conclusion. Choose peace, protect your energy, and live fully should be driving at night. Be careful, you don't want to break a hip. What if something happens to you out there? Isn't that a little risky at your age? At first, these words might not seem like a big deal, but over time they add up. They make you second guess yourself. They make you hesitate, and little by little, they steal pieces of your life. Not because you can't do things, but because you've been convinced that you shouldn't even try. The cost of living in fear. Here's the truth. A life built around avoiding risk is also a life that avoids joy, excitement, and growth. Yes, caution is necessary. Yes, you should be mindful of your health and safety, but there is a difference between being smart and being scared of everything. If you let fearmongers dictate your choices, you don't just miss out on opportunities, you miss out on yourself. The version of you that still wants to explore, the version of you that still has dreams, the version of you that still craves new experiences, new friendships, and new adventures. That part of you doesn't die just because you hit a certain age. But fearmongers, they will try to bury it alive. How to free yourself from fearmongers. So what can you do? How do you stop fearmongers from limiting your life? Recognize fear for what it is. Next time someone tells you that's too risky, pause and ask yourself, is this real? Or is this their fear talking most of the time? It's the ladder question, the what ifs. Fearmongers love to ask, what if something goes wrong? Flip the script, ask yourself, what if it goes right? What if I love it? What if this is exactly what I need? Limit your exposure to their negativity. If someone constantly fills your life with fear, it's okay to put some distance between you. That doesn't mean you have to cut them off. It just means you don't have to absorb their anxiety. Surround yourself with bold people. Spend more time with people who encourage you to try new things, not those who make you afraid of them. Find the people who remind you that life is still yours to live. Take small steps outside your comfort zone. You don't have to climb a mountain or skydive to reclaim your confidence. Start with small things. Take a new route when you go for a walk. Try a hobby you've always been curious about. Say yes to something that excites you. Even if it scares you a little, fear is inevitable. But living in fear is a choice. The world will always have risks, but it will also always have beauty, joy, and adventure. Fearmongers want you to focus only on the risks. They want you to shrink yourself into a small, safe life. But you deserve better. You deserve to keep dreaming, keep exploring, keep discovering new things about yourself and the world around you. You deserve to live fully, not just cautiously, because at the end of the day, the biggest risk is not failing. The biggest risk is looking back and realizing that fear stole your life from you. So step forward, try, live, and don't let anyone, especially the fearmongers, tell you otherwise. Life is too short to be weighed down by people who drain your energy, crush your dreams, manipulate your emotions, or make you afraid to live. And yet as we grow older, we often find ourselves surrounded by these very people, some of them even within our own families. We have talked about the emotional leeches who take and take, but never give, the guilt trippers who use shame as a leash to keep you under their control, the dream crushers who try to convince you that your best days are behind you, the fair weather relatives who only show up when it benefits them, and the fearmongers who keep you trapped in a small, cautious life, making you believe that risk is something only the young should take. But here's the truth. You do not have to carry these people with you into the next chapter of your life. You have earned the right to set boundaries. You have earned the right to prioritize your own peace. You have earned the right to say enough. And you have earned the right to keep living, not just existing, because you are not done yet. Your dreams are still valid. Your time is still precious. And every single day you wake up is another chance to choose joy over obligation, growth over guilt, and freedom over fear. So let go of the people who keep you small. Surround yourself with those who uplift you and step boldly into the life that is still waiting for you. Because the only person who gets to decide how you live your life is you.